Finding America in Bible prophecy. Why is this so important? Because it has everything to do with events prophesied to take place just before Messiah comes the second time. Well, there you have it. I hope you liked what you've just seen as we set the stage for what could end up being a 15-part study of Daniel 2, Daniel 7, and that final climactic chapter where America is revealed to the world in the book of Revelation. What's left for part 1? As I said at the beginning and during the telecast, we want to follow Nebuchadnezzar with our cameras as he heads to Babylon with his cargo of bereaved souls. Avoiding the desert, but which back in Nebuchadnezzar's day would have meant a semi-suicidal 560-mile march. The Babylonians no doubt opted for the longer but less onerous 1,600-mile trip along what's known as the Fertile Crescent. There before them would be water, lots of water, without which neither Nebuchadnezzar, nor his soldiers, nor his oxen, nor his camels would survive. Besides, was he not now leading Jewish women and children too? Opting to steer his caravan by the Euphrates would have been a no-brainer. That's why we want to go deeper into the Middle East. We want our audience to take this journey with Daniel on foot. We want their feet to swell just like the Jewish captives did. We want them to feel the overbearing heat and to realize the cost at which some prophets have bequeathed their messages to the world. In the case of Daniel, his prophecies are particularly tragic, not just because he was ripped away from his family as a child, not just because he had to survive this incredible 1,600-mile forced march to a strange land, there to live with a people whose language he didn't understand and had to learn. No, Daniel endured so much more. His priceless prophecies, whether they be about Christ on the one hand or the Antichrist on the other, come to us through bereavement, captivity, and sadly, castration. And don't let that word castration shock you, please. Here is Isaiah prophesying to King Hezekiah 100 years before Daniel was born. And of thy sons that shall issue from thee, which thou shalt beget, shall they take away, and they shall be eunuchs in the palace of the king of Babylon. Isaiah 39:7. Have you ever wondered why the Bible refers to Daniel's master as Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs? Well, that's why. Somewhere along the line, he had been emasculated by Babylonian surgeons. Yet he humbled himself and gave us his classic prophecies just as God gave them to him. How did that man bring himself to do that? How could any man? Had I been in Daniel's shoes after that castration, I'd have been ready to curse God, like Job's wife suggested that Job, should do. Curse God and die, she said in Job 2:9. So yes, heeding her advice, I'd have been ready to tell God, if you couldn't save me from these butchers, then why should I prophesy for you? No, give your dreams and visions to somebody else. Is that reckless enough for you? Wrapped up in grief and self-pity, that's precisely what I'd probably have said, but not Daniel, which no doubt is one of the reasons why the angel Gabriel refers to Daniel as being greatly beloved in Daniel 9:23. In fact, 3 times in the space of 2 chapters, Daniel is called greatly beloved. Not even David got that. Greatly beloved, no doubt, because Daniel was in total submission to God. Even Job murmured when he had to endure the boils and the scraping and the ashes and the bereavement. Yes, he lost his children, and the pain and the isolation. Yes, the isolation and then the ostracism that came from his friends. In Job 7:11-15, we read, and this is Job talking to God, "Therefore I will not refrain my mouth. No, me nah shut my mouth." That's what the man said. I will speak in the anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul. Am I a sea or a whale that thou settest a watch over me? When I say my bed shall comfort me, my couch shall ease my complaints. Then thou scarest me with dreams and terrifiest me through visions, so that my soul chooseth strangling and death rather than my life. I loathe it. I would not live always. Let me alone, for my days are vanity. Job 7:11-15. Did you hear that? Let me alone. In Jamaica we would say, left me. Me don't want you bother with me. Yes, Job complained. Daniel, as far as we know, God bless him, Daniel submitted. Me, as I said, I suspect I would have cursed. And that, as poet Robert Frost said, has made all the difference. That's why Daniel is in the Bible and not me. With Daniel and his master Ashpenaz as a very real backdrop, maybe now you can better understand the psyche of those Jews who have walked away from God, even if they didn't curse. Mystified, in incredible pain, some bitter and in total disgust, especially after the sadism and sheer demonic horrors of the Holocaust. They walked away from God, gave up their faith in God. To these Jews and to millions before them, no doubt, it's like the Jewish race has been singled out for torture, singled out for pain. How did the psalmist put it? Thou hast showed thy people hard things. Thou hast made us to drink the wine of astonishment. That's Psalm 60 and verse 3. Psalm 44 is even more blunt. Yea, for thy sake are we killed all the day long. We are accounted as sheep for the slaughter. That's Psalm 44:22. Friend, that incessant hatred and pain would be enough to demoralize anybody, just like Daniel's castration, which is the point I'm trying to make. Daniel's pain and humiliation are emblematic of Israel's pain, Jewish pain. That's why I want our audience to feel what he had to have felt, yet still humbled himself to be a spokesperson for God. I want to put flesh and bones on this man. In the absence of any scriptures to the contrary, I want our audience to grasp what certainly appears to be Daniel's incredible, long-suffering character. I want to make him real. Tell you the truth, I want our audience not just to feel his pain, I want them to fall in love with him long before he utters a word. Today we need your help. We've already spent over $12,000 just in filming what you have just watched. In sharing this figure with you, am I admitting too much? As one of my colleagues says I'm doing, she says I chat too much. Well, I don't really think so. I think you need to know what goes into producing good, solid, compelling video. You see those churches in Jamaica? Don't you know we had to hire a local cameraman with a drone to get those shots? Some shots were quite risky. For while he was on Tower Street, for example, in downtown Kingston, there to get the shot of the Wesley Methodist Church, he was in a very rough area. Men from the community actually came up to him to ask him what he was filming and why. Heart pounding, at that point he knew it was time to go. While he didn't exactly fear for his life, he told me that he didn't want to be yet one more victim of a robbery or something worse in broad daylight. What am I saying? These shots cost, beloved. And then when it's not our cameraman being used, we had to purchase stock footage. Footage of the absolutely beautiful waters of Patmos, for example, or of the pain of the delivery room, or the lightning flashing through the clouds at Christ's second coming. And then to top it off, there's the animation of Daniel's image, which is coming in part 2. First, our editor had to buy that image. £150 is what it cost him. Then he had to figure out how to fold its arms, for it came initially with both arms outstretched. To fold its arms, he had to learn how to put virtual bones inside the image and how to bend the image at the joints. Then he had to put a sheen on the gold, the silver, the brass. For that task, lighting was everything. Then he had to animate the image. It had to be able to turn 360 degrees in any direction. By itself, that animation, which includes, of course, the stone crushing the image, took 3 12-hour days. 3 12-hour days for maybe 90 seconds of video. And then a couple more days, not hours, of serious polishing, right down to the portrayal of the wind carrying away the remnants of the gold, silver, brass, iron, and clay, like the chaff of the summer threshing floors. That had to be done if we were to be true to the scriptures. Next, the stone becoming a mountain. That had to be animated too, for that's how Daniel described it in Daniel 2:35. Why go to all this trouble? 1, to bring the scriptures alive. 2, to help our audience to see as best as we can portray the scene, what Nebuchadnezzar saw as he was dreaming. We've gone to all this trouble because we want to plant, that's number 3, pictures and emotions where possible in people's minds. Plant them there so forcefully that they'll never forget. Wherever they go in life, our audience must remember Nebuchadnezzar's image and ponder what the God of the Torah was saying through it. But it all costs. As I said, part 1 cost us over $12,000, and this doesn't include the funds we spent traveling to Iran in 2019 and filming there. You get the point? Taking our cameras along Nebuchadnezzar's route, as we're doing here, will cost us tens of thousands of additional dollars. But I believe this journey will be particularly nostalgic and persuasive, especially to the Jews, many of whom will recognize Lebanon and Syria and Iraq. These were their forefathers being emasculated and hauled off as slaves by Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians. These were their infants being dashed against the stones, as Psalm 137 describes. Filming this journey, or at least taking our cameras along this pain-filled route, could melt hearts that might otherwise remain as hard as stone. That's why I want to do it. And yes, we can film along this route. There are traces of the Via Maris, maybe satellite imagery, who knows, to this day, but I know it's there, waiting to be filmed. I believe this venture will help bring Daniel and his prophecies and the mysteries of God alive. Traveling on the ground through Caesarea and Lebanon, parts of Turkey and Syria and Iraq will be worth it. Just watching the sun set over the ruins of ancient Babylon will be worth it. You know, when you add it all up, based on how much it cost us to produce part 1, as I said, that's $12,000 for part 1 alone without any travel expenses. Finishing what could be a combined 15 to 20 parts to these 2 series could cost us upwards of $200,000 more. And no, I'm no longer hesitant or embarrassed to quote this figure, fearing that some people would think me mad. I've tended to prepare a budget only for one piece or one segment at a time, and downplayed what is staring us in our faces, but not anymore. COVID-19 has changed all of that. We don't have time to ramp, we don't have time to play. Time is too short now for what in reality could be my false humility. No, let me lay out our expenses just as honestly and comprehensively as I can. What we're producing could end up costing us way in excess of $200,000. And no, I'm not in awe of this figure. No more than was David in awe of Goliath's biceps. It's real. It's staring us in our faces. It's a mountain to climb. The good thing, though, is this. In taking us first to Iran, God has already shown He is for this project. We've already left port, in short. Friend, I believe that the same God who sustained Daniel will provide every penny for us to go forward, just as he did for the renowned British Egyptologist Howard Carter. Here is Carter's story in a nutshell. You never heard about him? I'm going to tell you. Arriving in Egypt at age 17, he'd end up being involved in sundry archaeological digs until World War I interrupted them in 1914. During the war, Carter would work as a courier and translator for the British, but resumed excavations at the war's end in 1918. Somewhere along the way, Carter earned the support of a notable benefactor, one Lord Carnarvon, who initially sponsored him with high expectations, but who himself became disillusioned as year after year of digging turned up little or nothing. Finally, in 1922, Carnarvon pulled the plug, but Carter, no longer 17, I forget how old he was in 1922, closer to 50. Carter, naturally distressed, persuaded him to continue one more year. The rest is history. Within a few months, Carter discovered King Tut's tomb. Even then, though, it took him 10 more years of excavating before it was all over. Was this campaign in Egypt's heat worth the years of digging? Of course it was. Look at this, on display in the Museum of Egyptian Antiquities in Cairo. This is King Tut's burial mask, carved into 11 kilograms or 24 pounds of solid gold. For 3,000 years it lay buried until one day Carter's water boy stumbled over a set of steps that, upon close examination and further excavation, led to the sealed tomb. Friend, I believe it was God who inspired Carter with the tenacity to keep on digging. And no doubt an angel who tripped the water boy at the right time, at the right place. They never even knew those steps were there until the boy tripped. Yes, our God is just like that. The story of Howard Carter is one of the reasons why I persevere. One of the reasons why I believe our God will take us back to the Middle East just as he took us to Iran. Like Elijah, even after God had promised rain in 1 Kings 18:1, we've still got to ask for the rain, just like Elijah. Go look it up. It's there in 1 Kings 18. God promises Elijah rain in verse 1. But before Elijah gets that rain, he has to send his servant to the mountaintop 7 times. So no, I'm not expecting God's manna to fall on us just so. We must play our part. We must do everything we can to generate that rain. You follow what I'm saying? Which is why, as I've said, we've released this video today. Our part is to ask for the necessary funds. We've already asked God. Now it's time to ask you. Will you partner with us today? Can you partner with a team that will be as nitpicky about quality as is our team? Can you partner with somebody who will be as real and open and recklessly honest with you as I have just been in taking you through how I would have probably responded to God had I been in Daniel's shoes? Can you partner with me? Prior to watching this, had you ever considered what the Babylonians did to Daniel? Hasn't it already affected how you feel about that man? But I'll go one better. Having watched what we've produced in part 1 thus far, can you understand the Jewish mindset a little better today? Yes, you say? Then it will all have been worth every penny, won't it? Even my blunt language about Daniel's surgery will have been worth it if it brings God's word alive. Alive, not just for you, but for the thousands of Jews and Muslims and Buddhists and Arabs and Christians who will watch it. How can I be so sure these 2 series of videos will draw large numbers of Jews and Iranians? Well, let's talk about the Jews first. Let me give you 10 seconds of video that can be fed across social media and reach millions of Jewish homes and businesses in seconds. Take a look. We're inside the tomb of Esther and Mordecai in Hamadan, Iran. What Jew do you think will be able to resist that? Of course that's Hebrew. What does it say in English? The tomb of Mordecai and Esther in Iran. No, Jews won't miss the opportunity of stepping inside the tomb of Mordecai and Esther, who have played such a key part in their upbringing and continue to play such a seminal role in their culture to this day. They'll click on it. For one, with all the talk of war and recent assassinations in Iran, from that general who got taken out by a drone to the nuclear scientist who got taken up by a remote set machine gun. With all of that talk, few Jews are going to travel to Iran today to enter that tomb for themselves, no matter how much they venerate that couple. But they'll click on our ad to see more. I'm sure of it. And when they do click, where will that take them? It'll take them to 30 more seconds of video. Come, let me show you. Why did we come here? We came to Iran because we wanted to tackle one prophecy in the Bible, Daniel 9:25, the verse predicting the year Messiah would come the first time. With that in mind, I'd like to invite you to watch us as we put the pieces together for our brand new blockbuster video series, Kurash if you're Iranian, Cyrus if you speak English, and Koresh if you're Jewish. Cyrus the Great and the prophecy of Daniel 9:25. Friend, watching these few seconds of video will be like getting the eyes sensitized to light after one has been in a cave for a long time. We can't just rush a Jewish audience to watch hours of video, no matter how compelling it may be. They've got to be sensitized, taken to it in stages. Only after they've been through the first 10 seconds, and then the follow-up 30 seconds, which tells them what they're about to see, will we lift up the curtains on Cyrus the Great and the prophecy of Daniel 9:25. Esther and Mordecai first, Iran second, then Cyrus the Great and the prophecy of Daniel 9:25. The same kind of advertising will be done to attract Muslims. But I'm not going to give everything away here. And let me be quick to add, all glory to Jesus, who promised his followers, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. All glory to him who promised in the great controversy, page 606, to lead the minds of those who consecrate themselves to his service. I know it is God who is leading our minds as we continue to plead with him for the spirit of excellence to fall upon us, just as it fell upon Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, who constructed the ark and the mercy seat and the cherubim for the tabernacle of the Lord in Exodus 31. Here is what God told Moses about this man, Bezalel, the man whom he, the living God, had chosen for the sacred job of furnishing and beautifying the tabernacle. And I have filled him with the Spirit of God, in wisdom and in understanding and in knowledge and in all manner of workmanship, to devise cunning works, to work in gold and in silver and in brass, and in cutting of stones to set them, and in carving of timber to work in all manner of workmanship. That's Exodus 31, 3-5. The spirit of excellence is what I've prayed will be poured out, and in particular upon our editor. I believe it is being poured out. Did you see what he did with Nebuchadnezzar's image? My friend, this is precisely the reason why we have our 501c3 non-profit status. It is for moments like this, for projects like this, broad in scope, spanning the terrain from Jerusalem to Turkey and Baghdad. Projects requiring major investments and a lot of faith. Anticipating the latter rain and the loud cry, how can we do less? No, there is an Israel and an Islam to be one, absolutely one. Two world religions to be challenged at their core. All that plus an antichrist to be exposed. How can we not want to be part of the final movements? Audacious? Of course I know our plans are audacious. Having two world religions convert to Christianity, that is beyond audacious. There is no word that has yet been invented to describe what we're attempting. Whether you're talking Hebrew or Babylonian or Iranian or English, that word hasn't been invented. The only thing that comes close to my mind is Jonathan and his armor bearer going into the camp of the Philistines by themselves. I want to bring Holy Ghost inspired weapons to the table that God can use mightily in these closing days. And these two series, Cyrus the Great and the prophecy of Daniel 9:25, and Finding America in Bible Prophecy, I believe these are part of that weaponry to be followed, God sparing my life, by the revised edition of the New Illustrated Great Controversy. Frankly, after 49 years of tending sheep in Midian, I believe our time has come. While we need every donation we can get, and will not neglect the $5 or $25 or $100 gifts, I believe there is at least one person watching this today. Some Lord Carnarvon, somewhere out there, who can fund everything we want to do in the Middle East, just as easily as you or I would run to the supermarket to buy a few pounds of grapes. Am I talking to you today, Lord Carnarvon? You're sitting on millions, maybe billions of dollars, and yet, prior to watching this telecast, nothing had really gripped your imagination to its core. Now, though, your soul is on fire. You've caught the vision. You've heard the voice of God Himself, that still small voice speaking inside your heart and saying, "This is the way, walk ye in it." You see America changing right before your eyes, and you know what could be just around the corner isn't pretty. You know it means perilous times just ahead. Sir or Madame, for Lord Carnarvon, maybe Lady Carnarvon today, I don't know. Sir or Madame, with all due respect, it is time to move, time to act, time to give of your means in a different way, with a new intensity to different people, even to lay people who understand the times and who are preparing evangelistic tools for the battle ahead. Lay people, my friend, who have an eye to the second coming of the Lord. Lay people who are not just sitting back at a desk, even though that too is important, especially if you're a treasurer. But lay people who will risk their lives to see the work done. Lest you think reaching Jews with the gospel is a pipe dream, let me show you what God's servant has to say about it. While amplifying Paul's prophecy in Romans 11 about a revival coming to Israel, listen to how she spells out that revival in the book Acts of the Apostles. That's the last book she ever wrote. Listen to this gem. In the closing proclamation of the gospel, when special work is to be done for classes of people hitherto neglected, God expects His messengers to take particular interest in the Jewish people, whom they find in all parts of the earth. As the Old Testament scriptures are blended with the New in an explanation of Jehovah's eternal purpose, this will be to many of the Jews as the dawn of a new creation, the resurrection of the soul, as they see the Christ of the gospel dispensation portrayed in the pages of the Old Testament scriptures, and perceive how clearly the New Testament explains the Old. Their slumbering faculties will be aroused, and they will recognize Christ as the Savior of the world. Many will by faith receive Christ as their Redeemer. To them will be fulfilled the words, as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name. Among the Jews, she says, are some who, like Saul of Tarsus, are mighty in the scriptures. And these will proclaim with wonderful power the immutability of the law of God. The God of Israel will bring this to pass in our day. His arm is not shortened that it cannot save. As his servants labor in faith for those who have long been neglected and despised, his salvation will be revealed. Acts of the Apostles, page 381. Remember, if you live in America, you can get a tax deduction for your gift. Won't you come to our website and make that donation now? It's www.lrltv.org. Or if you are not internet active, or if it's a particularly large check, Lord Carnarvon, Sister Carnarvon, if that's you sending something in, don't do it by PayPal. Just make your check or money order payable to Laymen for Religious Liberty Ministries, LRL Ministries for short. That's LRL Ministries, Post Office Box 1029, DeLand, Florida 32721. About the only thing I can give you in return is this booklet in my hand, My Trip to Iran. And if you ask for it, we'll also send you the DVDs about that trip, which of course includes footage of our entering the tomb of Mordecai and Esther in Hamadan. Here's the tomb here. There we are inside the tomb. My friend, I'd be happy to send these. They're the pride and joy of our ministry, ranking right up there with our Time magazine ad for the great controversy, which you can read about at our website. 6 solid pages featuring God's servant, the health message, a center spread speaking about what's coming to America, and then some religious liberty quotes. You can read all about it at our website. Listen, thank you so much for your kindness, for taking the time to listen to me today. From start to finish, hasn't this been a wonderful journey today? Can you sense the breadth and depth and power and scope of what we're trying to produce? As I said, there is no word. Audacious doesn't come close. This is beyond audacious. We're challenging Islam and Judaism and proposing to open in excess of 1 billion eyes. Yes, you can. You have sensed what we're about. You've caught a glimpse of it in part 1. In your bones, you absolutely know these 2 series are from God himself. Well, may that same God richly bless you today. That's my prayer. He who hath ears to hear, let him hear. Amen.